here's an opportunity to learn something new, have some fun, and enjoy it. So I'd like to invite you all to welcome Adam Hart on the power of food.
So by a show of hands, who woke up this morning feeling just a little bit tired? Be honest here, throw your hands up. Right on, thanks guys. And how many of you wouldn't mind waking up every single morning like you're a lion ready to attack your day? Every morning, throw your hand up, say yes, give me a yes. Awesome. My name is Adam Hart. I want to welcome you to the Power of Food presentation. Really excited to be able to spend a few minutes with you. We got about 20 minutes or so. Really all based on some of the ideas that I discovered from being very unhealthy to where now I live what I like to think as a very healthy life, but in ways where I didn't have to give up all the foods that I love to eat. So I do like to have some fun with you while we're going through this. So what I'm going to do to keep our energy going and get us really stoked about this information I'm about to share with you, every time I say these two words, and the two words are sounds good. When I say sounds good, you're going to throw your fist in the air. Oh, you guys don't seem too excited about that. Throw your fist in the air and you're going to yell out, oh yeah. Sounds good? Oh yeah. Okay, a few of you had your smoothies just now. All right. Cool, so we're going to get that going and give you guys lots of energy. Before we get into all the juicy details that I want to share with you, first, can we give a big round of applause to the organizers of this awesome event? Pretty cool. I mean, this is a very intimate setting. I know you guys can tell that. I definitely can feel the energy. I'm just going to be honest with you. I've gone to the washroom about 4 times to let go because there's something energetically going on that I'm tapping into, and I'm hoping that you're tapping into it too. And I'm a big believer of intention. Now, if you would ask me that, spiritual, foofy stuff 10, 15 years ago when I was pre-diabetic and suffering with depression, I would have said, well, you're out of your mind. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. Now that I'm up here in front of you, I absolutely believe that we are all connected. We are all made up of energy, and there's reasons why you are here right now. And is it Shivani? Yeah, Shivani mentioned it a little bit, and really it's all a matter of being mindful of why we're here, as it is for me to be mindful of why I get this opportunity to be in front of you. And I know that there's some things that I'm going to share with you today that are going to hit you. They're definitely going to make sense, and they're going to get you to think a little bit. I'm not the big guru nutrition guy that's going to give you all the background science and all the phenomenal little itty-bitty details. I'm kind of a big picture kind of guy. I like to feel good. Who likes to feel good? Throw your hand up and say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. We all like to feel good. And it should be easy. And if it's not easy to feel good. You didn't say sounds good. No, I didn't say sounds good. I'll get to that one. If it's not easy, then what is it? Right? Most of us know that. Then it's challenging. And we already live lives that are super challenging. So why does it have to be difficult to get healthy? Now, I want to give you a little bit of background about myself. Is it okay if I share with you just a little bit about myself?
Oh, yeah.
Right on. Thank you. So I do have a history of being very unhealthy. I was given food as a reward right from a very young age. Throw your hand up if you can relate to that, or having bad food as a child. Throw your hand up. Right on. What kind of foods do you remember getting when you were young?
Fruit roll-ups.
Sweets, fruit roll-ups. But it's fruit. Wait.
Nestle pudding.
Nestle pudding. Thank you. Tootsie Rolls, Joe Louis.
Bean sprouts and tofu. Ding dong. Bread soup.
So if me and my sister, when we were young, we behaved, where did we get to go eat? McDonald's. So this set me up right from a very young age for a very poor relationship with food. Now, I was diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, when I was 12. I was put on Ritalin when I was 13 years old. And that for me continued because I grew up with a cola in one hand and a chocolate bar in the other, processed chocolate bars, to the point where I was going through these spikes and crashes of energy, which many of us already experience and have been experiencing from a very young age. And it led me to some serious health issues by the time I was in my mid-20s. And we don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to give you the whole story, but I want to share with you this. I was pre-diabetic at 25 years old. I was given Lipitor, prescription drug for high cholesterol. I was suffering with bouts of depression, severe depression, anxiety attacks. Anytime I went on I don't know, I mean if it was claustrophobia or whatnot, but definitely high anxiety. And anytime I was in an elevator, anytime I was in a car wash, anytime I was on on a ski lift, I would go into some serious anxiety modes. And I didn't realize it at the time, but what I was suffering from were all issues and health issues that so many of my friends and family were suffering from at the same time that I didn't know. I thought it was a unique story to myself that I was suffering the way I was suffering. So I remember when I was given this prescription for Lipitor, I walked out of the doctor's office that one day. I never did fill that one. I was already on so many other meds at the time that I realized, wow, this is an issue. I'm 26 years old. I walked into a coffee shop right around the corner actually from my doctor's office, and right away I noticed how I wasn't alone because there was a woman, she must have been in her 40s. She had a few pills on the table that she was about to eat or pop. There was a young girl that was pretty close to me that I saw had a medical bracelet, and I believe it was for an allergy for nuts. There was a gentleman, an older gentleman, probably in his 60s or 70s, who had an air mask and oxygen tank. And I realized, wow, I'm not unique in the way I'm feeling, the way I'm suffering. And so many of us are doing the same thing. And you look around at your family, you look around at your friends, your coworkers, and we all know way too many people who are suffering. And this idea of mental illness, which a big part of today, I know you guys already know this, but the Kelty, am I saying that right? Kelty mental health work that they're doing is phenomenal, and I know we're doing donations for that today. So if you get a chance, please share as much as you can. For me, it's probably the one thing that's closest to my heart is the idea of the depression and the anxiety. And I know that mental illness, especially in Canada and North America wide, is a serious, serious issue. Is it 1 in 5 people have been diagnosed with it? Some form, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, eating disorders. And that's just those who have been diagnosed. So you look around the room, and we already know that there's a few of us that are secretly or don't even realize that we are suffering in ways that we don't need to suffer. Now, for myself, I got very fortunate that I was able to back away from my lifestyle because I walked out of that coffee shop, and it was like the blinders were off my eyes. I was like, wow, wait a minute, this is amazing. I mean, as bad as my situation was, all of a sudden I realized, well, I have control over this. I don't have to rely on everything I've ever been told or every email that ever told me something about how to get healthy or every newspaper that was trying to tell us constantly the things that we should be doing to get healthy. Because in the end, what does it come down to? It comes down to you. It comes down to how you feel. That's the entry point, how you feel. I never connected to how I was feeling. And if you live that hectic, go, 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 fast-paced lifestyle, you know this. You know that you're disconnected in a lot of respect to how you're feeling. And once we can reconnect to how we feel, it's amazing how we gain back that power. We all of a sudden can start to make choices every single day that serve us, where we don't have to give up the things that caused the chaos. Sounds good?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right on. So I want to share with you a little bit about what I discovered as far as this idea of still having your cake and eat it too, without giving up, all the ideas of what we love to eat and so on and so forth. And for me, it really was centered around nutrition. That was kind of my main part of my life. But it didn't really start there. It started for me with athletics. I grew up in Toronto. I grew up in Toronto, and I was doing operations for a small company there. I have a degree in sociology, diploma in international business management, and I do neither of those, although I am very business-oriented. But the depression started to kick in pretty quick. Now, what I was finding that for me to get some essence of feeling better, I needed to get active, and I was always buying gym memberships. And I was overweight. I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now. And if you know my books, there's pictures in there that you can see of where I was. And I wanted to get active, so I was buying gym memberships, and many of you know this. If you're buying gym memberships, at some point you miss a day. Well, how do you feel after you miss a day? Or 2, or 3? Terrible, guilty, frustrated that you're not staying up with it. Those are the feelings we need to avoid. So for me, gym memberships just did not work. Same with dieting. Who here, by a show of hands, knows somebody who's ever been on a diet before? Throw your hand up and say yes. If you know somebody, we all know somebody who's been on a diet. And I've been on several in the past, most of which left me feeling very frustrated and guilty. So for me, I got into rock climbing. I discovered an indoor rock climbing gym in Toronto back in the mid-90s. And all of a sudden, it was like a lightning bolt hit me harder than I've ever experienced before, where I would get on the plastic holds, and the first time I ever did it, I got halfway up and I was so terrified. I was afraid of heights. And I had my buddy I yelled at him, get me down, get me down. But I was addicted to something. And I didn't know what. I know what it is now. But I all of a sudden had the ability to turn off something. What was I turning off? Who said the chatter? What's your name? Corey. Can we give Corey a big round of applause, please? Awesome. The chatter. The chatter, we have what, on average 70,000 thoughts a day. How many of those are negative? For a lot of us, too many. I started rock climbing, all of a sudden, boom, that switch went off. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, this is unbelievable. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just here, I'm present, I'm thinking about movement, I'm breathing. And I got so addicted to that I eventually moved out to Golden, BC. I started training to become a mountain guide. I started ski touring, ice climbing, still rock climbing. I live in Squamish now, so that's my life. I live in nature. And that, to me, is step one. I know now nutrition was my catalyst that got me onto this stage. But it really was being in nature, step one. We got to get outside. We got to connect. We got to ground. Get grounded in any way possible, even if it's for 30 seconds or for however long you can. Step two is the nutrition piece. We have to start controlling our blood sugar. That's kind of number one. If we can control our blood sugar, things start to get a little bit easier for us to manage. And this is what I discovered. So I discovered rock climbing. I started to climb. I realized, wow, my meat-based diet and my dairy-based diet, we're not cutting it. It's like, wow, this goes totally against trying to feel fantastic. And I'm not saying don't eat those foods. I'm never the guy that's going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. To me, it's all about what can we start adding in from this beautiful plant-based world that's available to us in abundance that's going to start to make us feel good and give us better choices. Sounds good? Oh, yeah. How you guys feeling? I got you? Are you on the path with me? So from rock climbing, I discovered nutrition because I realized being pre-diabetic and living in Golden and trying to keep up with all these unbelievable seasoned mountain guides that it wasn't working. And I used food as my fuel, and I started to bring in more plant-based foods. And then I realized, wow, oh my God, this whole idea of making nutrition easier really comes down to this big secret that shouldn't be a secret, but it's kind of a big secret for a lot of us, is that there's only really two kinds of food. That's it. There's only two kinds of food. What are they? Awesome. Who said dead and alive? Right on. Have you read my book? What's your name? Ava. Can we give Ava a big round of applause? Awesome. There are only two kinds of food, dead and alive. I mean, a lot of people say good and bad. I really believe that it's all based on eating as many foods as possible that are living. They're alive. They got nourishment for you. They got nutrients. They got macro, beautiful pieces, the proteins, the essential fatty acids, the carbohydrates, and then all the rest of what's building your body up. But the problem is that the majority of our diet in North America is based on what is down in this dead world, or most of us will know it as the processed food world, which has very little nutritional value and leaves you starving. So we mentally go through this vicious cycle over and over again of wondering why we can't sustain our energy, which is the number one result that most people want more of, is energy. You talk to anybody around you, and the majority of those people will say, yeah, energy. And once you have more energy, what do you think you're able to do? It's unbelievable the shifts that start to occur. You start to control your sugar, and you can start to manifest some pretty awesome things into your life. And that's a whole other manifestation, is a whole other workshop. But it's all based on energy. You get your energy under control, and it's amazing what you can start to create around you. So I realized pretty quick in my climbing world that the more I brought in foods from this plant-based world, but not focusing on elimination, not focusing on trying to get rid of all these foods, which is what every single diet pretty much gets you to do, is to eliminate something. What happens when you are forced to eliminate something? You crave it even more. Yeah, you start to freak out. These are feelings that we need to avoid. We need to avoid feeling conflict. We already have enough conflict in our lives. So when it comes to food, it shouldn't create conflict. It should be a source of inspiration, a source of support. The source of support comes from this plant-based world. At least in the first step, let's look for nice, beautiful whole foods, plant-based foods. Then you get into the herbal world, and we start talking more about the waters, and it's unbelievable where you get to go and play when you start to bring some of this in. And I'm pretty excited to be able to spend some time with Charles today. And just phenomenal information and wealth of knowledge that we have in this room. And it's really an honor to be a part of it. What I found is that I needed to focus on foods that were easy to find, easy to use to start. And when I found out about this one food more than any other, I couldn't believe that it was also grown in Canada. What food do you think that is? Hemp seeds. So hemp for me has been and continues to be the number one nutritional food on the planet that I can use and consume on a daily basis that makes me feel unbelievably fantastic, right? And I know I'm talking to a lot of us who are familiar with these kinds of foods, but whoever gets to see this video afterwards might not be as familiar as we are. But hemp is just way too easy to not be consuming on a daily basis to help us to control what? Blood sugar. Who here suffers with the mid-afternoon crashes? Yeah, we all do to some degree, right? What's the easiest way to start to help level out those crashes? What's the easiest thing you can do? Have a nap? Snack? What should you eat? Yeah, essential fatty acids, some good protein source. So what's the one food that you can help right now with that? Hemp. If there's any one thing that you walk away with today, that hopefully will be the one. Is all you got to do is start adding hemp into whatever you do. So you wake up in the morning, you have your cereal, right? Maybe not everybody here, but some of us. This was my favorite. So this was my favorite cereal growing up, and even into my 20s. So what is the number one ingredient in North America that we consume?
Wheat.
What's your name? Colette. Big round of applause for Colette. So the number one ingredient that we consume in North America is wheat. I mean, there's definitely other grains that are right behind it, whether it's corn or rice, but wheat. So we are mass consuming this once beautiful plant-based food, had a lot of nutritional value way back. Now it's a whole other story. But as far as what it ends up being when we consume it, what is left over after the processing? Not a whole lot, right? Now you think about what are some of the products that you know of that you may eat or you know people who eat that is based on wheat. What do we got? We know cereal. What else?
Bread.
Pasta, bread.
Muffins.
Pretty much the dominant foods that you find in the SAD diet, the standard American diet. The one that's pretty much the reason for the obesity epidemic and diabetes epidemics that we have going on. So my message is, don't eliminate this. What? What do you mean don't eliminate this? What do you do instead?
Put hemp seeds on it.
It's that easy. Just add something of value to it. Add something of value that's going to help control your sugar so that eventually you all of a sudden say to yourself, wait a minute, I actually feel good when I add this. Do I really need the thing I'm adding it on? My bowl of cereal used to be one big honking bowl of this stuff, probably 2-3 times a day. I love cereal at night. And then all of a sudden I started adding some of these beautiful plant-based foods. This rolled up here. And there's only 6 of these that I talk about. 6 plant-based foods. What's hemp? A seed. So that's 1. What are the other 5? Nuts. Grains. Vegetables. Legumes. So beans, lentils, peas. So nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables, grains and legumes. 6 plant-based foods. Well, which ones of those do you know that have a lot of nutritional value?
Grains.
Which ones? Now, it doesn't mean that you need to now go out and start buying 40 different grains and 30 different legumes and 25 different seeds, but why not highlight maybe 1 or 2 in each of those categories or in one category that you can start with? or at least that you can share with somebody that you love that you know needs this information. And say, hey, listen, I heard about hemp. This crazy guy was talking about it. No? Not crazy? Okay. And start adding it into whatever you do. And that's the idea, is just find one or two sources. Now, for me, seeds just became the easiest thing that I can do. Now, is there ways to always increase the nutritional value of whatever you're doing? Absolutely. But for us, where we're at, depending on how we're feeling, it's all about adding this stuff in. So I started to add hemp seeds into whatever I was doing. Next thing I knew, I wasn't getting those mid-afternoon crashes anymore. I started to have more sustained energy. All of a sudden, I was rock climbing at the highest level I had ever climbed. I was in the peak physical condition that I've ever been. I'm 40 now, and I feel better every single day. And I still, and some people might not like me saying this, but I still drink beer. I still eat pizza. Now, is it every day? Like I used to drink 1, 2, 3 beers a day, way back in the day. I used to eat pizza 3, 4, 5 times a week. I used to live right beside, in Toronto, I used to live right beside the most popular chicken wing place in all of Toronto. I actually had the lower little apartment that was right beside the chicken factory, deep fryers going all day, and I would leave my windows open, and it would come in. But I loved it back then.
You didn't need to eat any.
And I used to eat a lot of that stuff. Now, what I'm here to say is that your body, and there's a couple important things, but this is one of the key discoveries that I made, that I had no idea how my body worked this way. But we need what I call the big three to survive off: the macronutrients, the proteins, the essential fatty acids, and the carbohydrates. You need those to survive. So your body will automatically crave the dominant sources you feed it. It'll automatically crave those because your body needs them. So if you grew up on a heavy meat and dairy-based diet, which is what I grew up on, then what are you going to crave? You're going to crave exactly that. Until you start to offer your body another source of really powerful nutrients. And then there's a piece here where if you can turn off the chatter for a little bit, go rock climbing if you want. But if you can turn off the chatter a little bit, then you start to reconnect to your relationship to how you're feeling. And when you do that, it's amazing how the food starts to talk to you. And I haven't really tried a lot of Conscious Planet product just yet, but I'm looking forward to gaining a little deeper connection that way. I just got, and I'm big on plugging everybody because it's awesome, but I think I got the last bottle, right? I got the last bottle of that? Ah, it goes with Frosted Flakes. Sounds good? Right on. And I got an awesome granola bar here from Golden Aura. So, this is what I'm talking about. Once you start to reconnect to how you're feeling, it's amazing how these types of foods just start to fall into your lap. There's not a whole lot of work you need to do. Be mindful, connect to how you're feeling, and it starts to show up. Now, I want to just share with you, because I got 5 minutes left, but I have this is a little bit off of what I was going to share with you for the remainder, but I want to share this with you. I have become pretty proficient at using intention. Once I started to connect with my energy, I realized, wow, I can actually start to mold my life into something that's pretty fantastic. Where I come from, Toronto, concrete jungle, working 6 days a week. Every other weekend I got a second day off. I'm doing 12 hours, and suffering with the depression, eating all the wrong foods, so disconnected, driving an hour and a half from traffic. I don't know if you've ever been in Toronto and you know the traffic. Driving an hour and a half to and from work every single day. Pretty depressed state. Now I live beside some of the best rock climbing in the world. I have a best-selling book, this guy here, The Power of Food. I have my own line of food products that are now out across BC and Alberta and going to cross bigger and better as we keep going. And it's all based on this idea of understanding how you can use intention, how you can manifest. So I want to leave you today with my four pillars, really, of how to live a little bit more in connection with our relationship to ourselves, a little bit more in tune with how we're feeling. Step one is we have to ground ourselves every single day. You have to get out into nature as much as you possibly can. So just go for a walk. Just stand in front of a tree for 30 seconds and just breathe the tree in. I promise you, if you do this just once in the next 24 hours, you are going to feel a substantial decrease in your stress levels. And once you do, all of a sudden the cortisol starts to go down, your adrenals everything starts to even itself out. Step 2 is you have to control your blood sugar. You start controlling your blood sugar, and it's amazing how you can then use step 3, which is intention. Know what it is that you want, because as you start to get off of the crazy train and suffering with disease and illness, well, then the world becomes pretty much your oyster. You can start picking and choosing what it is that you want to surround yourself with. I chose to surround myself with you guys. Step 4 is to practice. Every single day as much as you can, keep going through step 1, 2, and 3 over and over again. And I promise you, if you do this, I'm just looking around and trying to pick up where you guys are going, because it's endless. You have endless opportunity to where you want to go.
Oh yeah!
Sounds good? Okay, I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.